We have a quick question here from Sergey asking, what does currency jawboning mean? Thanks for the question, Sergey. Now, currency jawboning is basically when central banks or sometimes even government officials tries to talk down or talk up their currencies in an attempt to either push down its value or stop its ascent or stop its devaluation. Now, there are many reasons, of course, why central banks and governments would like to see their currencies cheaper. Some of them might be due to export competitiveness, or if your currency gets too expensive, it hurts exports. So being very reliant on exports as a main source of GDP growth, for example, that obviously means you need to make sure your currency isn't too strong versus any of your major trading partners. However, in terms of devaluation, there's also concerns for central banks and governments to want to stop their currency from devaluing too much, as it will push up the prices for imported goods and can have negative impact in terms of their debt if their currency suddenly appreciates so low where they can't settle their debt, which might be denominated in another country's currency, which can be stronger, like the dollar, for example. Now, there are, of course, policy tools that will allow central banks to alter the value of their currencies. The normal ones we know about is altering the interest rates, or by changing the money supply with things like quantitative easing or quantitative tightening, or by just performing explicit forward guidance. However, sometimes the bank or even government officials, instead of actual intervention, um, instead of actually doing something in terms of a policy effect, they can verbally try to either talk up or talk down the currency, known as jawboning. And they can do this by pointing out a specific price level, or an exchange rate where they want the currency to be trading at, or they can just threaten intervention, if it reaches certain levels, or they can just say that it's overvalued or currently undervalued at a specific price. Now we can look at a couple of examples. If we go back to 2019, we saw that the dollar was strengthening against most of its majors across the board, and we also saw President Trump coming out a couple of times, saying that the dollar is too strong. Here's one of his comments: "I want a dollar that's great for a country, and not a dollar that's prohibitive for us to be doing business with other countries." We also had Treasury Secretary Mnuchin coming out. We made comments in 2019 saying that a soft greenback would be better for the United States, when normally the Treasury had a stance of a stronger dollar being better for the United States. A couple of examples there. We also had Nordea Investment Bank coming out with some great examples here as well. In this chart, we can see how the ECB in 2017, how ECB policymakers intervened every time when the euro US dollar exchange rate went above 120. We also have another example there going back to 2015, also from Nordea, also about the ECB, showing how ECB officials, every time the currency rate went above 115, obviously versus the dollar, we saw ECB officials coming out trying to jawbone the euro. So as you can see, it's basically just central banks or government officials trying to either talk up or talk down their currencies, which is normally what we refer to as jawboning. So any other questions there, Sergey, please don't hesitate to let us know.